Beryl is one of those people who can influence your life when you meet him. All of us have certain people in our lives that we meet that impact us and steer sort of where we end up in our lives. And for me, Beryl Rosenstein is a very important part of where I ended up in my life, and namely cystic fibrosis. And that is because from the very first time I met him in clinic and saw how he cared for patients and saw how he thought about science of CF, it made me think I want to be like that. And that's one of the big things that made me decide to go into cystic fibrosis.
He teaches in such a way that you understand not only the disease, but how to interact with patients, how to understand families and the struggles that they go through to deal with cystic fibrosis. And he's a role model so that you can aspire to be what he is, somebody that is caring, knowledgeable, and can allow people to thrive, allow his patients to thrive.
He's a special, very special person. Dr. Rosenstein, I think, for me, has been one of the most decent, caring colleagues with whom I've worked in my career. He's just a wonderful person.
When you talk to Beryl, you notice Beryl because he gives you such a good feeling inside after you talk to him. So he's very upbeat, particularly about his patients.
Beryl sets quite a high standard for care of patients with cystic fibrosis. And in fact, the CF Center at Hopkins, which he basically built, is one of the best in the country, if not in the world.
I think many of his patients would give the same tributes if they were sitting here in front of the camera that I am trying to describe. He is just a wonderful physician and human being.
When you work with Dr. Rosenstein, you have to have your facts ready. You cut to the chase. You have to make sure you have all the details because he definitely was, a mentor in that way.
He still has patients that have moved away and they have children and they send him pictures of their children, or they send him Christmas cards and they'll call and they'll say, "You probably don't remember me, but I saw Dr. Rosenstein back in the 90s and I just want to call and tell him how good I'm doing."
There isn't a person that I've ever worked with that has been so incredibly focused, efficient, dedicated. And he definitely makes everyone around him want to jump in that ring with him and do everything that you possibly can to better the lives of these patients with cystic fibrosis.
Cystic fibrosis used to be thought of as a pediatric disease, and there wasn't an adult program until about 1999 or 2000. And now there are more patients with cystic fibrosis who are adults than there are pediatric patients. And it's really because of the excellent care that people like Dr. Rosenstein instituted.
He really he's had a part and a hand in just about everything that we know about CF or have learned about CF over the last 30, 40 years.
He probably represents, the very best possible example of someone who's made so much difference in the lives of children with cystic fibrosis.
Thank you, Beryl, for everything that you have done, especially in cystic fibrosis and your work with the children.
Thank you for teaching me about CF and for caring about who I was and making sure that I had the tools that I needed to do my job. And thank you for taking great care of all of our kids with CF.
Thank you for all the years of teaching with us, and thank you for setting such a good example that we should all strive to be just a little bit more like him.
I'd like to thank Beryl for giving so much to not only the children with cystic fibrosis, to the trainees in pediatrics, both in general pediatrics and in pulmonary. And for the most, also I'd like to thank him for how much help he's been to me in guiding the Department of Pediatrics in the last 20 years.
We really have appreciated your inspiration, your guidance, your common sense approaches, your firmness when necessary in tackling this tough disease, and we've made such advances, but we still need people like you to help guide us. So thank you for everything you've done.
I would like to thank him for the tremendous service that he provided to our Children's Center, to the kids and their families, and to the broader Johns Hopkins Hospital community. He has been a wonderful, wonderful colleague, and you know, he continues to still work many hours each week. So although he's retired as the full-time Vice President for Medical Affairs, I guess about 6 years ago, he still continues to come in and contributes in very meaningful ways. So very special person.
The foundation would not be where it is today without Beryl Rosenstein, the leadership that he provided in early years. And just 2 years ago, he was on our strategic planning committee that has sort of set the roadmap for the future of the CF Foundation.